My name is William Ajapong Kwetu. I'm the Acting Chief Executive Officer of Tree Crops Development Authority. If I may take the name and define the terms in them, the tree means that we are going to be handling or regulating trees. But these trees should yield some crops, some fruits or food. And so any tree that yields crops or food that we can eat is what we are talking about here, tree crops. And so you can mention several tree crops: coconut, mango, oil palm, rubber, shea. You can also mention coffee, cocoa, whatever. But you know that coffee and cocoa are being regulated and developed by Ghana Cocoa Board. And so we have some other tree crops that has been, to me, constitutionalized. If I say constitutionalized, I mean an act has been passed on their development and regulation. And these six tree crops are rubber, oil palm, cashew, shea, mango, and coconut. So that's what we mean by tree crops development. So the word development means that, of course, we are going to find a means of developing these six crops. And we have to have some kind of power or authority to, as it were, be able to do the development and regulation. And so it is given an authority status. The core mandate, I would say, they are twofold: to regulate and to develop in a sustainable manner. That is very, very important. We cannot just go about developing various tree crops without thinking of the effect on the environment. So we are mandated to regulate these six crops, and then at the same time see to it that we develop the six crops. And I always bring the regulation first before the development, because you cannot develop any person without you actually bringing about a regulation or some kind of rules that they will have to follow. Without rules, no development can occur. This mandate given to us is such that these producers or processors or traders, let me put it, actors of all these six crops here, are private individual persons. Government doesn't have a hand in the production of these six crops or the regulation of these six crops until this Act 1010 was enacted. Most people were doing their own production and finding their own market in any manner that they so please. But of course, government was always coming in to help from time to time. For instance, if there's a disease outbreak or if they need some varietal change that is suit the international market or whatever market that there is, government was coming in from time to time to assist them. So when it comes to development, this ministry, for instance, in the past 3 or so years, developed a program called Planting for Food and Rural Development. And in this program, basically what they did was to look for elite planting materials for the farmers to have for free to plant. Because if you take a crop like oil palm has a male and a female seedlings. We just pick any seedling under the trees of a very good yielding palm plantation. It doesn't mean that when you go and plant that palm nut, your farm is also going to be a good yielding farm like the one that you pick the nut from. And so seedlings for oil palm are always purposely done by research institutions. So when it comes to seedlings, for instance, the PED program, Planting for Export and Rural Development program, sought to give planting materials to farmers. And when TCDA came into being, we have taken that over. This year, for instance, we supplied free of charge a number of seedlings of all these six crops, huge numbers of them. Last year, it was done by PED under this ministry. So that is part of the development, where farmers are not paying anything, but they are getting the true to type seedlings to go and plant. Another type of development that tree crops can be doing whilst regulating their activities will be such that in the marketing area, we can be linking up with various international markets where hitherto maybe an individual could not venture. Tree crops could go and negotiate some kind of a marketing arrangement with such markets and give the supply contract to various farmers within that supply chain to supply. In other words, Tree Crop Development Authority is going to form, or is going to be something like a link through which actors in Ghana can get to very high value markets internationally. Again, Farmers complain about the prices of chemicals that we have these private sector people selling on the market. When TCDA is on its feet, if the prices are just skyrocketing, TCDA can negotiate with various manufacturers of these chemicals, certified, and then we can get them, someone will say economies of scale, we can get them at very moderate prices, bring them into the country so that the farmers can be buying from there. We wouldn't say that we want to compete with chemical suppliers, but where it is getting out of hand, and we think that that private person there is making so much margins to the detriment of the farmer, then TCDA can step in. Cocoa board buys its own chemicals and supply to farmers for free. Why? Because for them, when the crop is ready, when the cocoa is ready, it is cocoa board that buys it. So in effect, the farmer will pay for the chemical from the proceeds of the farmer when cocoa board sells the cocoa. In 8 to 10 years, the president has charged TCDA to ensure that whatever cocoa brings in will also rake in or bring in the same amount of money in terms of dollars. So we are going to impact positively and greatly on the economy. We are going to mimic the activities of Ghana Cocoa Board. And in our case here, we have put a lot of crops under the same authority, and we are going to have different divisions of this authority responsible for these 6 crops. So in our structure, if you take me as a chief executive there, we have a deputy chief executive who will be in charge of all operations. We have a deputy chief executive who will be in charge of finance, and I guess you have spoken to them already. And we are going to have under the operations, deputy chief executive operations, and his director, deputy as a director. We're going to have six managers or value chain experts. An expert in mango, and then he will have his team. An expert in oil palm, he will have his team. An expert in shea, he will have his team. An expert in cashew with his team. And so they are going to manage these sectors as we expect it to be. It's not going to be a one person master of all trades and one person, let's say, handling about 3 crops. No. You must be an expert in mango and concentrate on mango. You must be an expert in cashew and concentrate on cashew. So that we, those at the top, will also provide the managerial direction to these experts. Basically, that's what 3 crops is to me established to do. And I believe strongly that we will start making strong impacts very, very soon.